Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here with another Path of Exile 2 video, and in this one I'm going to talk about a Minion perspective on the Tactician revealed information that we got on the reveal stream. Again, like the other videos, we don't have patch notes. We don't have all of the information we need to get a perfect take on this. So what I will do is I will go through the Ascendancy and do so from the perspective of a Minion Ascendancy or Minion approach to gameplay and see my take on the Tactician. And I will say this. I think that the Smith of Katava is like a really good take with a defensive layer, but it kind of depends on the animated weapon kind of approach or manifest weapon. I think Tactician is very similar to that of the Gemlin Legionnaire, which is, it used to be a sleeper build. Kind of a thing that people were kind of assuming that was going to be good, but nobody really tried it out. And when we finally had a guy, Oscrix, who tried it out, it just turned out that it was competitive with the high-performing Infernalist endgame builds as well. It was fantastic. I think Tactician will be in a similar situation where it's kind of a sleeper build. I'm not sure if anyone is going to start with it. I will have plans to make something like this. I believe my right-hand man for Written Guides in PoE 2, Mr. Lolash, might actually start this. Because I think that, or I think we both are in the boat of believing that this is a sleeper build that is just sitting there ready for the taking. And I'm going to explain why and go through what I'm thinking about in a theoretical sense for this class in a Minion perspective. Obviously, we have this little note here. This guy seems to be something that we might see Summon Companion being released. We don't know if this is going to happen. I really hope it does. We'll see. I'm quite excited for this one. Obviously, we don't know. What we do know is that there's a handful of skill gems that is not Huntress specific, that has not been revealed yet. Spectre is one of them, and Tame Beast is also a Huntress specific. It's a Huntress skill or spear skill, if you will. But that means there's a handful of skill gems that are new that they have not revealed yet. So hopefully we'll see some interesting takes there. That maybe we'll see a companion, but we'll see. A little copium from my side. Anyways, the most important parts from the Ascendancy, I'm going to start with the shit one. It says polish that gear. 100% of armors, extra stun threshold, and extra alien threshold. Completely irrelevant. Stay light, use cover, defend with 200% armor. Enemies have an accuracy penalty against you, you based on distance. Max evade 50, max PDR is 50. Like, as long as armor is in its current state, these nodes are fucking shit. End of story. On the right-hand side, the first one here is Unleash Hell. You get minion damage, and you get supporting fire, which is this skill up here. This skill is a hidden artillery squad trailing you that can fire volleys of arrows on command. Essentially, it's going to be very similar to some of the ballista stuff we see in Path of Exile 1. I think that is going to be quite interesting with supporting fire. I think that we'll have to see how this works. This is more of a you using a crossbow kind of approach to it. You're shooting, the minions will shoot. And they count as minions, and they scale off attribute stacking, damage for each 3 strength, and accuracy rating for each 3 dexterity. How good this will be, hard to tell. I think this will be quite interesting, though. We might actually be using this in other types of minion builds for this type of class if we choose to go down that road. The other note below is totem damage, which would be applying to this thing. And cannons ready if totems have skill speed, and totems only use skills when you fire an attack projectile. So essentially what that would make it is so that the minion is essentially would only shoot when you're shooting, which is quite interesting mechanic, which we've seen in PoE 1 as well. However, that is the right-hand side of this Ascendancy. On the left-hand side, I'm going to start with a pin build-up. The first note here in the corner, it is suppressing fire. Projectile damage that you do, not your minions, that you do, builds up pin, which basically makes the enemies immobilized. The next note after that is increased pin buildup, and the last one is pinned enemies cannot perform actions. Basically, it's them being frozen or stunned, but they're not stunned or frozen. They're just stuck in place, and they can't do anything whilst they are stuck in place. So it's like a secondary freeze, I guess. I don't know. It sounds really good because it's a very good defensive layer. Not sure how usable that would be from a minion perspective, but it's a really cool node nonetheless. However, left-hand side, we have increased spirit, leading into a node called Solid Plan, which makes persistent buffs have 50% less reservation. We're talking about buffs that are persistent on you, basically the pseudo version of auras, so they will cost a lot less to reserve. The node above that is banner skills, so 20% increased area effect, leading into whoever pays best, where you can place multiple banners on the battlefield. Now, banners are barely used, if at all, in PoE 2 right now. And I don't think this is going to be that attractive. The banners in general have a very small radius, but you can sort this by supporting them, of course, and have it like a support character approach role, which I think is one of the things this build or this Ascendancy can excel at. But maybe we'll use that for a minion approach. We'll see. However, the big thing that we're going to talk about is watch how I do it. And I need you guys to watch me explain how this shit works. This is allies in your presence. Presence have a base radius of 6 meters. That's basically almost your entire screen if you're playing on a 1440. And they gain added flat attack damage equal to 25% of your main hand's weapons damage. No, we're not going to use a scepter if you do this. This is equivalent to the rallying cry from PoE 1. Now, me, Lolash, and Atros, we've cooked up some pretty cool builds in PoE 1 where we utilize Rallying Cry as a damage source for minions, utilizing a Warcraft Chieftain. We've done a Cheerleader Champion. It's been very cool builds in general. I'm quite excited for this. Essentially, what it does is that it adds a percent of your main hand's weapon damage. It's added flat damage to your minions. Now, because it's added flat damage, that allows us to create really cool values of added damage to your minions, making them able to do tons of damage. This will obviously work with the supporting fire because these will the artillery squad counts as your minions. So they will apply to that as well because allies also applies to your party members as well as your minions because allies are basically friendly units. Thanks so much, Miraculo, for the 30 months, man. So that's kind of like where I'm going with this because you could like smack on a big ass two-handed weapon or something, like have a giga damage mod. You don't care about the attack speed. That's the thing. You don't give a shit about the attack speed at all. The only thing that matters is high-end damage, so that the watch how I do it will give that damage to your minions, and that allows us to have some pretty cool, interesting mechanics. And we can also obviously utilize the banners for this. So what I think you would do is if you decide to play something like this as a minion build, if the supporting fire is good enough, that would be the first node. And if it's not good enough, then we would start moving towards this one as soon as you can and utilize that extra damage for flat damage to your minions. And then have as many minions as you can because all of them would benefit from this damage approach so that you can run things like SRS when you're leveling. And all of those SRS minions would get 25% of that extra flat damage. It's just so much damage. And the better you can play this. The best way to play this would be to have it as many minions as possible because each individual minion would benefit from this added flat damage. So there's some interesting takes that we can do with this. We have Spectres, of course. We have SRS. So basically, you want to look at a large quantity of minions to benefit the most from Watch How I Do It node. So I think that Suppressing Fire will be something that we'll be using. It's one Ascendancy, 2 Ascendancies, 2 gets to Watch How I Do It. Then we have 1 more Ascendancy node to go. And I think that the only reasonable choice to play with is to go for multiple banners and actually play with banners. But that's going to take a reservation cost from our spirit that we would rather have a higher quantity of minions with, at which point I'm more in line of picking up things like the small passives if they're worth bothering. But that's kind of like how I would approach the Tactician. I am quite interested to see how well this would actually do once we see the patch notes and all the details surrounding it and try to actually start path of building and theory crafting builds around this once we have the patch notes out. But I do believe, I firmly believe that this is something that is a bit of a sleeper build that could be very, very good because of how this operates and how similar this is to Rallying Cry without requiring you to cast any spell. It's just passively your minions and your friendly units around your party members, whatever, will have that extra damage. So I'm quite excited for that personally. Thanks so much, Nymphona, for the 4 months, man. Thank you. So I think that is going to be a really cool build approach to it. There's really nothing special with this Ascendancy. We don't really know exactly how the supporting fire will operate as we get more information as we move closer to the launch of this, but we do know how Watch How I Do It will perform. So all we need is some patch notes to be able to cook up some pretty cool ideas with builds with this build and with this Ascendancy rather. And I'm quite excited for it. I think that the main play is get as many minions as possible, and the faster they can hit, the better. So basically small hits, small fast attacking units with a high quantity of them, preferably range if possible, smacking SRS on top of that, and you benefit so much from this. And the only play is get a big high damage weapon on your, like a two-handed fucking axe or something. I think that's kind of like the approach that we're looking at. But yeah, I really don't have anything else to add to the Tactician. It's very straightforward. It's very simple to look at when it comes from a minion perspective. That's all I have to say when it comes to this class. I'm sorry I don't have anything extra. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's my take on it. It's going to be fun to theory craft these builds. And as always, I don't want to waste your time, but I would appreciate if you hit the like button, subscribe for more content. Please do leave a comment down below as well. It helps the algorithm. I appreciate the support. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe. Keep rocking.